let's talk about the truth and effects of how raising taxes actually works and the way where it sounds good on the surface, but a very basic look downwards actually reveals how things actually play out. And really, as a little spoiler here, believe it or not, it doesn't sound right, but raising taxes on the wealthy actually makes the wealthy that much richer. Doesn't sound possible, but I'll show you exactly how that's done. Now, when I say the rich and the wealthy, I'm talking about people that run massive operations. The billionaires, all those sort of people. That's who I'm defining. I'm not defining people. Now, don't get me wrong. Even a dollar, there's value in a dollar. But hundreds of thousands of dollars is much different than making hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars, right? There's a big difference between those two. And they get packed together. But I'll tell you, and I'm going to show you why the rich, the wealthy, they don't mind at all when taxes get raised. So just a basic, and I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence. If anything, hopefully this illustrates really just how simple and straightforward the thought process is. But any company out there, any individual that is, running a company, making money from a company, part of a company, but in order to have a product and service, what? You need to make money from it. How do you make that money? Well, you've got to have a price, and that price is relative to what? Well, the cost to create, right? You're not going to make money if something costs you $10 to create and then you sell it for $8, right? You can do that math. That's not good. So you need to have a cost in mind to create the product, and then you need to, price it higher than the cost in order to what? Money you actually make. And I say actually because a lot of time people look at revenue, meaning they look at total sales and they're like, oh, wow, this guy sold $1 million of stuff. Well, yeah, that's a revenue, but there was a cost associated with all that revenue. And then you subtract that out, and that would be known as the profit, right? Your profit is the money you actually make. So let's actually look at this, and let's say that, and I want you to just think through this with me. Let's pretend this happened to you. Let's say you are offering a product or service. This is the math you care about at the core, and all of a sudden, this happens to you. Your cost to trade goes up. Why does it go up? Well, all of a sudden, because of taxes, right? Taxes go up, meaning you make less money. The business makes less money. That would be a cost, right? At the service, that is a cost. So your costs have gone up. What does that do to the equation? Well, you're saying, well, Clay, if this number goes up and this number stays the same, well, then you're going to make less money. So the question becomes, all right, well, is there a way around this? Is there a way that, and let's say nobody's being greedy. Nobody needs to make more money, but somebody wants to make at least a minimum, the money they were making previously. So looking at the math, if you want to make the amount you were making before the increase in taxes, looking at the math, is there a way you could do this as a business owner? And I'm not trying to insult your time. Well, of course there is, right? You could do this. You could come over here and say, you know what? I'm going to raise the price. I'm going to increase the price on whatever product that is. So for example, if it's a 7% raise in taxes, what could this be? If you just want to continue to make the same amount you were previously, well, over here, you would increase by 7%, right? Nothing fancy here. Now this boils down to, well, what's going on here? Well, who cares about the price up here? Not, the business owner definitely cares about the cost to create and the price, but who mainly cares about the price? Well, these people down here, right? You, me, other people. Known as what? The middle class, right? The middle class cares about the price because, well, that's what they see. That's what they know they need to be able to pay out to get the product or service. Again, I keep coming back, I'm not trying to insult your intelligence, but nothing fancy here at all. But what just happened under this situation? Well, is the business owner, is the business itself still making the same exact amount of money after the tax increase? Yeah, they are still making the same exact amount. How? Because, well, they increased the price by whatever that tax increase was. So who is actually paying the raised tax? The middle class is paying the tax. And people wonder why things just keep getting more expensive. And, nobody can get ahead. Well, it is. I will admit, it is hard to get ahead when prices keep increasing on everything. But when costs to create products increase, and that could also be regulations, right? The more regulations you place out there, that means that there's more lawyers, there's more accountants, there's more this, that, and the other that are needed, which increases the cost to create whatever that product or service is. And then the business, they still need to at least make money, right? They have employees. They have people they're paying. They need to be making certain amounts of money to keep the business operating. So in order to do that from a business sense, they can just increase whatever. But I could see also, I was saying, Clay, well, let's just say that, they're not greedy savages. And, and some companies, to be fair, they do not need to do this. They can actually just make not as much and they can weather that. They can survive the storm. Who are these companies? Massive, massive corporations that can sit here and say, yeah, that hurts, but we can do this, we can absorb that because we're just such a massive, massive company. So we're going to take the hit for a time. And what do I mean by for a time? Well, I'll come back to that. But who's the people that really can't take this sort of hit? Where their costs increase, they're already struggling, they're already, they're going through a lot. Well, who would that be? The people that really would be hurting is a small business, right? Small businesses do not make billions of dollars, do not make hundreds of millions of dollars. They make money, but they make enough money to all of a sudden start to fall into these categories of taxing the rich, raising the taxes on the wealthy. And are they going to be able to just sit there and absorb it? Maybe for a very small amount of time, but really their only choice is going to be, we got to increase prices here or else, we're not making as much. That's going to cause all sorts of concerns. We're not like Apple, right? That has billions upon billions of dollars in their checking account. We just can't absorb stuff. So they need to increase prices. But what does that do? What does that do when their competitors, the massive corporations, don't have to raise their prices? Well, guess what? Now all of a sudden, this small business is way overpriced. Those corporations are saying, yeah, we're taking the hit right now, but we know we have lower prices. So what are they doing? They're just going to let this small business bleed out, and then their business is no longer viable. They're gone. And then guess what? Oh, look, massive corporation doesn't have to compete with small business anymore. So now what is it time to do? Well, I don't know, what was that tax raise? Oh, 7%? Now let's raise it 7% because where else is the consumer going to go? They can't go to that small business anymore. They're gone. We just outweighted them, or we let them get so dirt cheap that we just all of a sudden acquired them for pennies on the dollar because, we had the cash reserves to make it happen. We had no problem going out there and getting big loans and all that to let things go on. Now, I'm not saying that I disagree with any of this. That's capitalism, right? When you're a small business, yeah, it's hard. It's very hard when you're competing against those huge corporations. But to sit here and think that raising the taxes is actually hurting the big corporations, it's not at all. They're getting richer because it's driving other businesses, small business, their competitors out of business. And when they go out of business, well then, hey, they just get that much more of the market, which is in turn is going to put more money in their pocket. Now, I get it. Well, Clay, what about this? What about this? And you're right. There are little nooks and crannies, but at the core, a smart business is to turn a profit. And anything you do, anything at all that increases the cost to create whatever that product or service is, that is going to cause either a price increase, or if it doesn't, it's going to cause small businesses to get hurt because, yeah, sure, maybe, the big Walmart, maybe they're not going to raise prices. But little grocery stores, what are they supposed to do when all of a sudden their cost to create goes up that much more? They can't. And it just becomes a big mess. And I get it, at the surface, it sounds great. Hey, we're only going to tax the rich because they can afford to pay it. They're not paying it is the thing. They're just what's known as passing it along to who? The consumer, the middle class. So just some things to reflect on. I get it. Maybe some people don't agree with my economics here. But I would just, all I ask is you listen, you consider this with an open mind. I can't say that the math here is very difficult, but just something to keep in mind when it comes to taxes and how raising the taxes, and maybe you're okay with that. Maybe you're okay with, how this all works out. And all I can really say is, we can agree to disagree, but I respect you for listening to me. And that's great. There's no harm there. It's good to hear each other out. But like I said, that's really how things ultimately work because, and then I got to do a whole another video on the tax code and how the rich, okay, yeah, you increase the taxes, but we'll do this and we'll do this. And, it becomes a big mess. But The soundbite, hey, we're going to do all this to raise the tax by raising the tax on those who can afford to pay it. But they don't pay it. They pass it along. They bake it into other areas of the business that eventually the middle class will pay. So I hope you found this helpful. If you enjoy more of these kind of economic type videos, then hit that like button. Let me know down in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. And yeah, check out the channel as a whole. A little bit of a different video compared to what I normally do, but wanted to get this out there because I see a lot of stuff that the thinking is very broad and the soundbite is very broad. Hey, tax the rich because they can afford to pay it. But like I said, they don't pay it. It gets passed down through this way right here. Or if it doesn't get passed down, it means that other people are absorbing, are taking the hit for a time before others that can't absorb it just go out of business. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and thanks for hanging out. First off, thanks so much for watching the entire video. Real quick, before you go, I want to invite you to a live webinar, web class, training, workshop, online event, whatever you want to call it, but it will be me live revealing to you what I've discovered that has allowed me to transform myself from being an employee to being my own boss, including how I had only one losing day out of 73 days in total. I'm going to cover 3 keys that have helped me unlock profitable consistency within the markets. The first key is super weird, but in a productive type of way. The second key is super awesome because it quite literally is wired into our DNA as humans, making it very easy to use. But in a cruel way, this becomes a pitfall for many traders. I'll explain it all though, including how to avoid the pitfall that it creates for some. And yeah, the third key, when you hear it, sounds way too good to be true, but it's not, and I'll show you how it all works. Then at the end, I open it up for a question and answer session that is, again, totally live. Even if you can't make the live session, please still sign up as it will be recorded, and you can go back and watch the replay that I will send you. Click the image on the screen or click the link down in the description box so you can get the date and time and claim your spot, which I should note is limited due to the fact that this truly is a live event. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, I'll be seeing you soon.